Okay, I guess I'll make this a longer one. So I think I was talking about a short how what I say, I've decided to take down everything because at this point, if he, and you know what I mean by he, is literally starting to trash and physically destroy what I leave out, um, I'm not gonna sit there and just get my shit, not even my shit, literally my expression thrown away. If that's the intended, if that's what they want to do, they're not gonna listen to what I say. Okay, I'm not even gonna attempt it. All the stuff that I put up and that they ignored, it's gone now. They had their chance. It's used to be in a drawer. They crammed everything into the drawer there, and now everything is in the recycling bin. Um, that's their loss. I'm not giving them anything new. They're not getting anything old. That's what they get. They don't get to keep any of the pictures and nothing. So it's really that simple. And like I've been saying, that's the hard part because like deep down you don't really want it to go this way, but like unfortunately you kind of have to for your own mental health. Um, so yeah, I put everything away, even the stuff on the ceiling, because like I said, but I'm gonna use the word again, asking. Because unfortunately in this household, we don't get the basics of food or mobility. We have to work for the basics. That's how it works in this household because of their religion. Um, and so I've been putting down cash now. That's not obviously how it started. It, it started, as I've mentioned before, very politely, courteously, kind of ramping up. you know, you try so many methods. You try talking, you try writing, you try printing stuff out, you try pictures, and it really doesn't matter at this point because the behavior is really simple. Um, it does not matter what kind of method I use. The behavior is very simple. It's that it gets, sidestepped, it gets ignored. There's always an excuse, and here's what I try to remember for the most part. Not this year, last year, or maybe the year before. See, I forget. But I think it was like last year. But for like an entire good half year, almost an entire year, I'm like, you know what? I've got my stuff down. Relationships are usually kind of the big one, right? If that's not going good, then you're not doing too good, maybe either. But you get what I mean. So I kind of thought, okay, you know what? I figured out who I like, so that part's kind of down, and that's its own different thing, which I'm not really going to get into. But the point is, I'm like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I think I know what's going on in this avenue. Um, Health, right? Like we haven't been feeling normal lately. Let's go get ourselves checked out. Hey, we've been holding off on college because we didn't know. I think I want to do psychology now. So now we do all that. So you kind of get what I mean? Like, and then, you're not jumping into it right away because, school isn't something just like, oh, sign up. No, you got to wait until the next semester, right? 'Cause that's how it is. So, I've kind of, so the point is I have like all my plans and everything going on. That was during the summer because to me, I like summer for the most part. So I think it must have been 2 years ago. So, anyways, we're talking springish, summer, fall. Um, it gets kind of personal in fall, so that's why it usually lasts. This year will be different. I'll be okay this year, because I figured that part out a little better. But anyways, yeah, something like spring through fall, I'm generally doing pretty good. Got the planning thing going on. At this point, I still have a lot of legacy, credit, and cash left over. Um, so money wise, I'm doing pretty decent because at that point I'm like oh, what am I gonna say? I can deal with it, right? I had an incident where a person essentially tried running me off a road, again, apparently. So, that's its own thing. And I figured, like, I've got a lot of mental shit going on, and everything. And these people, and like I'm telling you, suburbs means you provide transportation means. And honestly speaking, in my opinion, the correct way is not to pay for your kids' insurance, but to be like, okay, well, this is what it used to be, or like, I did some research and this is what it cost. Here's X amount of money, go find your own insurance. You know what I mean? Something like that. Kind of like the teaching thing where like, or even better, that's if you want to be an authoritative, we're going to get really mixed up here. But, in my opinion, it should be more like, well, we moved to the suburbs. You got to get around reasonably, at minimum at the same level that they do, which is that they have a car. They spend fuel on it, right? So that's what we're talking here. And for the most part, that shouldn't really be it. The mentality should always be, I'm going to give the kid more than I'm giving myself. So that's that part. Additionally, because in the past, I've even said, and here's where it gets crazy. I don't know how they interpreted this. I said, if you give me money, it's like an investment because I take it and I make more money out of it through doing Lyft or Uber, right? Because I have a very fuel efficient car and, we literally live in a tourist town, so that's not an issue. I could make videos, the point is that, we're not like taking the money and going to Las Vegas, right? Or the casino. Generally, and for the most part, considering that for like the first fucking 20 years of my life, they were like, oh, what should we do? Like, and they still do this. They still ask me for advice. I'm actually the parent in this household, not them. Parentification. I would literally do the utilities. I would literally do the checks, write checks for him because he doesn't know. I'm not even sure he knows how to use credit cards. I honestly don't know. So the parentification thing happened. Where was I going with this? So I was talking about the parentification thing. And yeah, that's what I was saying. So anyways, last year or two ago, like I was saying, the good chunk of the year, I've got my plans, I'm doing everything for myself. You know what I mean? I'm focusing on myself. I'm doing all the stuff I need to be doing or should be, like figuring stuff out. So that was going good. And here's the crazy part. I felt good. That entire time, I felt good. And just literally out of the blue, she was like having a fit out of nowhere. Like, you're ignoring me or something. It's so crazy. I was focusing on myself. I'm doing good. And this person's like, I'm ignoring you. And it's like, so just reflecting back right away, that shows that anytime I'm focused on myself, she gets butthurt. So my behavior to improve myself offends her. So that's just kind of something I was pointing out. That's kind of the big thing. When I improve myself, that offends her. So you know what I mean? So like, it's the same thing here. So to me, let me flip this thing over first. Disgusting. So to me, I like peace of mind. I don't like the stuff they like, and I've been very clear about all that. And that's peace and quiet. That's not random strangers over in it. Kind of having a free, non-contaminated thought process, right? I listen to music, headphones. They listen to music, no headphones. I go quiet, they get loud. So, yeah, that's them. That's the insecurity right there. I've been like, bro, go see it there. I've even pointed out where like, when I start focusing on myself, you do this because you guys are insecure about being, I even point out the insecurity, and that's how attached they are. It's crazy. Behavior, I'm essentially pointing it out. So, like I said, essentially, I'm like, you know what? You don't like what I have to say, then I'm not even going to bother saying anything at all. And even the stuff I said previously, you're not going to get to keep or ponder about anymore. Now you don't get to look at the paper. Now you get to think about it in your head, the absence of it. That's what the focus is on now. And just like I've said, how in the past when I've like this, right? It is improvement. Me taking everything down, that's improvement because that's me saying, whatever. It's an improvement. You're not focusing on them anymore. No more energy on them. So I actually did do a few things better this morning. They're mostly like game related and like YouTube related, because I have a different channel too. But anyways, I figured how to get live video games going through a video capture card. So that's what I focused on. But anyways, my point being that I take my stuff down essentially, and the absence immediately, almost right away, no more resistance. Now they put money down. And like I said, unfortunately, it's not what I asked for. And like I said, again, I shouldn't have to be asking for food because I've made the point out. And look, the orange juice. Yes, let's talk about the orange juice now. I've said before that this is pretty much straight up sugar because it really is straight up sugar. Here's another apple juice. They don't drink. They're not juice people. That's just the thing, and it makes my stomach feel really bad. But anyways, ironically, there's like a fly in there. So yeah, no food there. So yeah, there's no food there because like that's just crazy. That's just so crazy. Okay, so to me, if they're giving me supposed food, and it's crazy because this right here is a restaurant where they have $1.39 tacos. It used to be 99 cents. So I literally spend $3 here. So this isn't actually kindness. This isn't actually kindness because $50 in this restaurant, you could literally buy $3 is how much I paid last time. I'm not even kidding you. $3 last time for 2 fish tacos. And if I'm really honest, they're probably as good as like $5 fish tacos. So it's a really good deal. So at $3, that's 20. I could go there 20 times and visit. So that's what I mean. I picked a cheap food, and honestly, I don't even like going there. I only go there because it's the cheapest cheapest Mexican food you can have. Because tacos are fine, but I'm more of a burrito person. And even then, I'm not trying to eat burritos. I'm trying to find healthier foods like salads and, other vegan type options. But a gift card doesn't do any of that. It locks you in. And that it's so ironic because the last time I used DoorDash, and they were covering it, or I thought they were going to cover it It was gonna be to a salad place. I think it's called Lotus or something. But I felt like, what? I feel like having, like I keep, because that's the thing. I add, you add the healthy places to your wish list, right? Your favorites, but you never really get to it because it's the transition. And I finally figured, you know what? I think I'll finally try this. I try it out. It turns out that they blocked out the card. So and that's for food. We're not even talking anything else. Like that card was literally used for like food, for the most part, and stuff that I really think I would be able to justify. Printer related equipment, paper, right? The phone I'm holding right now, a streaming phone, because honestly, like I said, I've been YouTubing for a pretty long time. If I had two fucking phones in 2009, oh geez, I would have been, right? And that's another thing too. I've been using YouTube since high school. We literally, Google didn't even own YouTube back then. So, I've had this interest for a very long time, but these people have not been supportive at all, and even many times have called it, a waste of time. Yeah. That's what they do. These people are gift people. It's just, ugh. I see them do it to other people, and now they're doing it to me, and it's just like a really gross feeling. And that's for that's part of it, and that's for the most part why I don't want to accept it, and I'm not going to accept it either. I don't know, maybe give it to like a homeless person or something, or I just leave it there because I don't even want to like, it's like that's the burden they put. They can't just be like, do it right or don't do anything, because at this point I'm still faced with the same dilemma. I still have the same need, right? Because my need was not fulfilled. Now I've got to deal with this, and that's what I mean. Literally, psychology. I've got to, like that's how ingrained it's inside me. To where I literally just said I got to like 5-10 seconds ago, because that's how they wired us up. Unfortunately, so that's the hard part, and that's why we're here making this video. And this is the part where they don't get how when they leave something stupid like this, I get fucking annoyed and clung over it. This is the part they don't get, and I've many times have pointed out, when you guys don't do stuff like this, or you guys do like the complete opposite or something completely. It's like it's more annoying. It's less of a burden to like get no reaction, versus. So, a person has arrived, so we will cut this conversation now.